defence, our best bet if the worst happens or just a waste of time? Why new government rules will hit Vietnamese refugees, and Singing in the Rain, how the capital enjoyed International Music Day. Good evening. The lives of millions of Londoners and other Britons are being put seriously at risk because not enough thought and money are being put into civil defence. That's the conclusion of a report published today by an organisation supported by over 200 politicians of all parties. It's a familiar argument, but the difference is that this time the National Council for Civil Defence say they're not just worried about nuclear war. They believe a policy is needed to cope with terrorism and other peacetime emergencies too. The chairman of the NCCD, Neil Thorne MP, claims that at any time a nuclear device the size of a small suitcase could be placed as left luggage at Paddington Station. And he further warns that within the next 10 years, terrorists will make use of nuclear or biological weapons to back up their demands. The NCCD's main worry is that we have no adequate system for looking after large numbers of defenceless civilians.
The NCCD's so-called all-hazard approach would create a civil defence system able to cope with disasters like the explosion at the chemical factory in Bhopal. There would be medical facilities to deal with as many as 25,000 peacetime casualties. The Council approves of countries like Switzerland, where all new buildings must have fallout shelters. 15 years have been lost, they say, by failing to include shelters in new buildings in this country. If there were survivors from a nuclear attack, emergency services would be so badly disrupted, they'd need the support of a proper, well-trained civil defence movement. But some local authorities, including the GLC, regard current thinking on civil defence as laughingly inadequate. The GLC has withdrawn from its statutory duty to provide bunkers, saying they'll have no purpose after the bomb has dropped. The policy on home shelters built from mattresses and polythene bags on the recommended lines is a joke. The activities of civil defence now are a cost borne by local authorities and are pointless.
The chairman of the National Council for Civil Defence, Neil Thorne, is with me now, as is Simon Turney, who's head of the GLC Public Services Committee and therefore responsible for London's civil defence, or what there is of it. Mr Thorne, is it really a realistic policy?
The policy that we're proposing is entirely realistic. We've got to be able to cope with any eventuality, and I'm afraid that we are not yet in that position. I think that some countries are, but we're not, and we've got a lot of ground to catch up.
How much would it cost, roughly?
Well, some countries spend about 3% of their defence budget annually on civil defence. We don't spend anywhere near that, and we have 15 years to catch up. We think that the sooner we start, the better it would be, and the less it would cost.
But round figures, hundreds of millions, thousands of millions?
I think that I would like to see an expenditure of about 750 million a year.
And where do you propose it should come from?
Well, I would hope that some of this money could be diverted from the defence budget, and obviously some would come from elsewhere.
Simon Turney, isn't it actually rather sensible to have contingency plans for all kinds of emergencies, including possible nuclear war?
There's no difference of view between Neil Thorne and myself about the need for a capital city like London to be able to cope with a Bhopal or a Flixborough, or indeed what happened with the London Fire Brigade at the Moorgate disaster 10 years ago. We are firmly in favour of having a decently equipped, properly trained fire brigade, and we further believe in the need for a decent health service with full ambulance drivers and ambulances as well. The big difference that we see is that in a nuclear weapons state, a city like London is stuffed with military and economic targets, Whitehall, Heathrow, the US Navy Communications headquarters, and that if war comes in Northern Europe, it is bound to impact on London, and because London is so full of targets, it's going to be wiped off the face of the earth.
Mr Thorne, you draw comparisons with Sweden and Switzerland, and we're hardly in the same bracket, as Mr Turney says, are we?
Well, I think that he's taking a very defeatist line because he's assuming that we're going to have an all-out nuclear holocaust. That, I believe, is the least likely of what's likely to happen. I think that regardless of one's views on nuclear weapons, we have been protected by a nuclear umbrella for the last 40 years, and we really have to turn our attention now to decide what ought to be done as far as civil defence is concerned, particularly where civil emergencies are concerned, where a terrorist attack could take place, and we are ill-prepared to do that.
Are we really ill-prepared?
Totally ill-prepared. This island does not have a public shelter policy. It is too small to have a policy of evacuating 7 million Londoners, simply because the island is too small to have safe places to go apart from a few stray Welsh and Scottish mountains. Everywhere else has got targets of military significance.
So is the implication of what you're saying that this comprehensive policy that Mr. Thorne and his group are calling for is simply impractical?
I believe it's a public relations con. What they are trying to do is to try to provide a form of legitimate publicity where the government has manifestly failed over the last 5 years or so. They are trying to pick up the tab where the government has failed to try and persuade people that civil defence in a nuclear weapons state is worthwhile. Now, where we object vigorously is we object to local authorities like the GLC being an outpost of the government's national defence policy based on nuclear deterrence. I mean, a secret unpublished scientific advisor's handbook says a potential attacker must be persuaded that the nation is ready to accept and survive an attack. And that's the theological justification for civil defence in the government's view.
Mr. Thorne, briefly then, is this actually nuclear war planning by the back door?
No, certainly not. As far as we're concerned, we're completely committed to an all-hazards approach. We believe that we've got to make preparations for anything that could happen. I think that the services were caught napping as far as Flixborough was concerned a few years ago, and they are likely to be caught napping under any similar circumstance.
Mr. Thorne, Mr. Tenney, thank you.
And now a look at tonight's main news stories in the southeast. A 17-year-old chef has admitted stabbing a policeman in a South London newsagent's during a robbery. Christopher Ogleton from Dulwich stole just £7, which he wanted to buy cannabis. During the robbery, he was tackled by PC George Hammond and stabbed him. Hammond eventually needed 250 pints of blood and several operations to survive. The attack happened in East Dulwich last January, but Ogleton wasn't caught for a month. He'll be sentenced next week, pending social reports. The nanny who turned up yesterday in Bournemouth with 5-year-old Pippa Lears has now left the police station where she was being questioned. Julie Horseman disappeared in London on Tuesday after travelling down from the north. Pippa's father, Peter, has said that Julie Horseman clearly needs help and that he just wants the best for her. The case is to be referred to the Director of Public Prosecutions. The government will consider compensating residents affected by the expansion of Stansted Airport in Essex. Homeowners may get financial help if their property values drop, and owners severely affected by noise could force the airport authorities to buy their homes. Aviation Minister Michael Spicer said development at Stansted shouldn't lead to an urban sprawl. An American Army veteran killed a shoe salesman because he wouldn't give a refund, the Old Bailey heard today. 36-year-old John Wooder, a paranoid schizophrenic, was sent to Broadmoor for an indefinite period after admitting stabbing 22-year-old Stephen Hindley, assistant manager of Church's shoe shop in Mayfair. Stephen was murdered just months before he planned to marry the girl he'd known since he was 14. From the Old Bailey, Andrew Rawnsley reports.
Every morning, Stephen Hindley would make the 200-mile journey to Church's exclusive New Bond Street shop from his parents' home in Leicestershire. He wouldn't move to the capital because he wanted to stay close to his childhood sweetheart back home. A summer date was set for the wedding, but it was not to be. One day, late in January, John Wooder came into the shop complaining about a pair of shoes and demanding a refund. Told that that was impossible without a receipt, Wooder suddenly produced a kitchen knife and slashed Hindley's jugular. Less than 24 hours later, Wooder was in police custody. The killing captured on the video cameras of a jeweller shop across the street. The court learnt that Wooder was suffering from a persecution complex so severe that anybody, anywhere who angered him risked losing their life. Sentencing him, Mr. Justice French said, "It is an appalling tragedy that a decent and entirely innocent young man should have died so senselessly at your hands." Tragic and senseless, most of all for Stephen's parents, who heard the verdict at their home in Leicestershire.
I think it's proper that this man should not be on the streets again. I'm sure that anybody who perpetrates such a crime should be kept out of society for as long as possible.
5 years after fleeing from the horrors of Vietnam, the boat people refugees in London are now facing a new trauma. According to the housing charity Shelter, they're being hit by the recent controversial government rules cutting back on payments to the young homeless for their board and lodging. There are 750 Vietnamese families in London. Since they've been in England, they've moved all over the country, often suffering isolation and racial harassment. Now, most of them have found their way to London, and although they're a society based on traditionally tight-knit families, the new regulations mean those children between 18 and 26 face being made homeless. Diana Wallace.
Mr and Mrs Yao Choi have 8 children. They live in bed and breakfast accommodation in London. And this week, 3 of their sons received a letter from the DHSS telling them that they're no longer entitled to accommodation payments. The Yao Choi family, like most Vietnamese here, do not speak English and are desperately frightened that their children will have nowhere to live.
How does the mother feel?
Well, the mother just said that if there's a empty house somewhere, she's going to squat in and keep the family together.
And have you appealed to the DHSS?
We have, and we Vietnamese are not going to make exceptional at all. All will be the same as everybody else.
They're not exceptional because although refugees are exempt from the laws, the Vietnamese did not arrive in the hotels in London under the guidance of a refugee agency.
The official Home Office policy for Vietnamese refugees when they first arrived was to disperse them throughout the country, and many of them were sent to very small, isolated areas where they found it very difficult to get food, to fit in socially and so on, and so they've wanted to come together in major cities, but in particular into London, where they can have access to social and cultural ties which they can't get anywhere else.
Although the legislation was designed to bring families together by making the homeless 18 to 26-year-olds ineligible for hostel payments, in the Vietnamese case, where they're all in accommodation, the family is being split up.
And now sport, and despite the rain, Michael Whale is outdoors tonight at the bowling club which has produced some of the best players in the southeast. And if you thought bowls was just an older person's game, then you'd be surprised. Michael.
Hello, yes, well in fact it's cleared up comparatively tonight, and we're at the Paddington Bowling and Sports Club where there's already a match in progress, the Middlesex double fours between Paddington, of course, they're the home club, and Mansfield, who are a very good club from North London, and that will be continuing on behind us. And with me now to prove about all this young bowlers is 28-year-old Kevin Sharrett. And why did you take up bowls?
Well, I was going to play tennis actually, and all the courts were booked up, and I wanted something to do in the afternoon, so I went down to the local bowls green.
Yeah. Now, the idea of bowls, obviously everyone knows, is to get the ball near the jack, but it's not quite as simple, is it?
No, there's a lot of
as
tactics.
we're about to see, I think.
There's a lot of tactics involved.
Yeah.
I mean, this game's almost
Who is
through.
bowling now?
That's Bob Yerby from our club.
So it's a Paddington bowl going up.
That's right.
And he's running up the green. This always amuses me. Doesn't help the ball, does it?
Well, I don't know what the actual situation of the head is, but he's obviously playing to displace the jack because he's down or trying.
So it seems to me rather like snooker on grass.
Yeah, that's right. It's very tactical. The heads have to be built up from the beginning, and it takes, you know, till everyone's finished to what the skip decides to play.
And lots more young people getting into it now.
Yeah, that's right. Especially competition bowling. And it's good for the sport, and there's a lot of more women taking up as well.
Yeah. And is this because of the money?
Possibly the money, possibly that it's being shown more on the
Mansfield just took a shot there, I think. Bad luck for Paddington at the moment. But anyway, I'm going to be talking to Steve Hulme, the England international, who also plays for Paddington in a moment, and 2 youngsters who are up and coming. But today, I was also at another event fighting the weather. Cricket Club in North London was the venue for a star-studded cricket match today between Graham Gooch's 11 and a side led by Middlesex and West Indies paceman Wayne Daniel. Both are having a benefit season this year, and today's event is just one of a myriad of ways of collecting money for their ultimate day of retirement. Wayne Daniel's team decided to bat first, with Mike Gatting and Clive Radley opening the innings. Because of the weather, play started a little late. A slight poignancy was added to today's friendly because yesterday Gooch's Essex beat Daniel's Middlesex in the semi-final of the Benston Hedges Cup, an upset to say the least.
We didn't think we had quite enough runs, 200 runs, but we bowled and fielded as well as I've ever seen Essex field and bowl, and we pulled off a tremendous victory.
The benefit match, I mean, you have to do a lot of these sort of events, and
Yes, well, you know, it's my benefit year as well as Wayne Daniels, and we've got a joint benefits match here today. I've got quite a few matches. I don't know what Wayne's got organised, and it's quite busy throughout the season, but the team support the players who have a benefit, and we've got quite a good system in Essex, and we're very lucky.
And you've brought Hannah along today. Is she already following cricket?
I'm actually watching the camera there, but she's getting used to it already. My wife brings her along to the home games, and she likes running around on the outfield, and it's a little bit wet for her today, though.
Among the many stars playing was Viv Richards of West Indies and Somerset.
When one's got a benefit, it's always nice, you know, the other professionals, you know, in the cricketing world to actually show the appreciation by turning up. And obviously, I've known Wayne. He's been a comrade, you know, of us, you know, over the years, especially in the West Indies team. I've had a good relationship with him, and it's always nice. And obviously, amongst the county circuit as well, Graham Gooch. And it's always nice, you know, when you can turn up with people like this, you know, who have given so much, you know, to cricket.
Hasn't changed much, as most cricket grounds do. They never seem to change. They always seem to be a bit green with a few trees around them. So it's nice to be back on a less serious note.
Yes, it is. Is it nice to relax, have a day playing cricket just for fun?
Well, it was certainly after yesterday. It's nice to actually have no pressures on you and get back to a less serious game.
The rain really is a bit strong out there. The lads are going to come off.
With 50 on the board, the weather won for the time being. Well, the weather's all right here now. And with me now, Steve Halmay of England and Paddington, and two young lads here, Dave and Colin, who are taking part in the Kodak Under-25s, that's the London section, at the Kodak Bowling Club, Heston Lane, Harrow, on Sunday. Now, Steve, you're going to give them some last-minute hints, we hope. We better set them off, let them bowl.
Yes, Colin, you start off. You've got to obviously get your first wood very close to the jack to put your opponent under a little bit of pressure.
And the jack, of course, we should say is very short.
Oh yes, it's a short jack, but
and he's made a
slight problem. He's gone overweight slightly, but now it's David's turn now to step in and get his wood very close to the jack, then put the onus on Colin to try and beat it. Obviously,
this is what they call, I believe, draw bowling, isn't it?
Oh yeah, this is the first two woods are the most important. Oh, it's excellent wood. Oh, that's well played, David. Now you've got to actually try and beat the wood by getting it closer to the jack, and afterwards the positional play will come quite important.
That's a much better wood, I believe, going up there. In fact, he might take the shot.
Oh yes, he looks like taking the shot. Oh, an excellent wood. Oh dear me. Yes. Go on, David.
I'm glad I'm not playing these.
Yes, that's right. It's looking a bit dangerous for me when I try and play these young chaps in the county levels.
They are getting younger, the bowlers.
Oh yes, and the Kodak Under-25 is very important for the game in the future, for the younger people to come in and now take over, because England are looking for young players to actually play competitions, and the future of the game will be very good.
Keep them going, and we wish them luck on Sunday over in Harrow. And just time for Wales Weekender. Last week, C Senor obliged, and tomorrow I go to Ascot, the 440 Northern Eternity. Ian Balding's 2-year-old filly, I think, could come out and win first time. Pat Eddery aboard. So all here, we wish you well back in the studio, and at least it's dry out here.
Well, today was the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, and although there might not have been much sign of the sun, that did nothing to dampen the spirits of hundreds of musicians in London who've been taking part in International Music Day for the first time. All over the capital, groups of singers, players and dancers have been entertaining the crowds and trying to encourage the public to join in. The whole venture's been backed by the Greater London Arts, who hope it'll do something to bring some music to Londoners' ears. The event began as dawn broke on Hyde Park, and Richard Bath was there.
It was rotten weather over Rotten Row this morning, but still the riders and joggers were out in Hyde Park in force. International Music Day was underway, and as the clouds hung heavy over the Serpentine, the plea from the Bach Choir and others was "Break forth, O heavenly light."
Break forth.
Rather more prosaic was the familiar scene at Waterloo as the rush hour reached its peak. But still, the sound of music was there to brighten the day ahead, courtesy of the fairer sax.
I've only just walked up here and I heard it and thought, wow, I should listen to this before I venture onto my train in 2 minutes.
Sing your favourite song.
The sun has got his hat on, hip 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 hooray! The sun has got his hat on and he's coming out to play. I think I better go.
Very good, very good. We want everybody in London to get fun out of music. Music on the streets, music in slightly unusual places.
The weather's not been very kind to you, has it?
No, but it doesn't seem to have mattered. We've had quite a few events actually out in the rain. People have still got a lot of pleasure from them. And of course, quite a few of them have been undercover, such as in the mainline stations.
The important thing, as you say, is for people not just to listen, but to participate. It's all a bit embarrassing, though, for Londoners. Have people been joining in?
Oh, we haven't been forcing people to join in. We certainly encouraged them, though, over the last few weeks to actually take part in Music Day.
The scene across the river in St James's Park was what you'd call terribly British. Goggle-eyed tourists baffled by the eccentric locals, indulging in the delights of a bygone, more elegant era.
Well, just time to look at the weather for tomorrow. It'll be generally cloudy tonight, and there'll be further outbreaks of rain. Minimum temperatures 12 degrees Celsius, 54 degrees Fahrenheit. That's how it looks in Paddington at the moment. Tomorrow will be further outbreaks of rain, but it should at least be brighter with a little sunshine from time to time. Maximum temperatures 18 Celsius, 64 Fahrenheit. That's all from us for tonight. We'll be back again on Monday. Till then, have a nice weekend.